Kratos as well, going to be that Warlock player for their roster, and they are running this Mage Ellie Resto Druid. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. I think Plot Twist have quite a lot of experience dealing with this composition.
And now we're going to see Dave on that Warlock again. We saw him step toe-to-toe with one of the kings of the specialization. He's looking fantastic against Walrix. Now he's going to use it here against Octogone.
I'm very curious to see how Lian performs here. He competed at BlizzCon in 2017 with Cervantes and Nerd Rage, and he was definitely a top contender on that Restoration Druid. Now making a return here for the season, the AWC spring season of 2019, bringing in a completely new set of players to his team, starting this fight off with that Wizard Cleave composition. But Destruction Warlocks are kings of the Wizards. Tons of damage already initially exchanged. Ice Block already forced. A huge lead for Plot Twist, and you can tell that Plot Twist are on the momentum train throughout the past two cups, definitely picking up steam.
Yeah, excellent job there. Well-timed execution in terms of offense for Plot Twist. Dave used his Nether Ward to reflect any sort of magic interrupts and was able to land a Chaos Bolt, but the damage is just not ending. Lian into a leg sweep, into a
that Ring of Peace.
Tremor there by Emperor, but now Sam is going to be in a little bit of trouble, or Saz is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Still hasn't activated that Cold Snap, and I want to see him use that as soon as possible so he can start looking towards his third Ice Block if the game does end up going that far. The longer he waits on pressing that, that means his third Ice Block is going to be delayed for quite some time. Numla's trading out the Life Cocoon. You can tell Plot Twist, like Zico said, they have a lot of confidence pushing in on Octogone, keeping up the offensive pressure.
The Warlock, Dave, started his tournament career on Rockets Esports with Ratipi just a couple of years ago, playing Rogue Mage Priest, and now has diversified his roster quite heavily by being able to play this Destruction Warlock, already forcing huge cooldowns from Octogone early on in this series. Mana even on both sides, which is great for Plot Twist. Rezus now getting swapped too, as Saza desperately tries to get something going for his team, but denied once again by a spell lock. Numliz rolling into center field, getting caught in a Hex, a bit of a miscoordinated attack. Maybe not though, off the back of this. Tons of damage. Potential Ice Block force. No, gets denied. Perfect kiting by Saza.
Yeah, Rezu still in hot pursuit of Saza, keeping up the pressure. Numliz gets interrupted. This could be the touch of karma potentially, but there's just not that much damage coming in from Octogone. Lian in terms of mana is behind Numliz right now, so Plot Twist in terms of the way this game is going, they have most of the aggression and they also have a mana lead, so things are looking good for them in the early game. Saza caught in midfield into a leg sweep, big burst, but a nice defensive Hex coming in from Empire, keeping Saza alive in this situation, denying Dave any sort of damage with the Maledict still flying in. Potentially second Ice Block coming in from Saza, who still hasn't pressed his Cold Snap, and I feel like this is a huge mistake for Octogone.
I mean, now at this point he has to try and save it, but I don't think he's going to have the time to save it. Has to Cold Snap. Now his second Ice Block going to be on a significantly longer cooldown. Definitely mistakes made on the side of Saza, putting his team even further behind and making it even more unlikely that Lian can sneak away, get a drink, and regenerate mana, as the Mistweaver is going to outmana the Druid without needing to drink. So this type of mistake is critical to the defeat of Octogone. Plot Twist making a push here as Shadow Fury is secured. Chaos Bolt fully channeled. Saza takes a huge hit. Lian has to expend even further mana to regenerate through that attack. Now they're trying to get some counter pressure over on towards Dave, with crowd control secured onto Numliz, slowing down his incoming healing. But at the same time, Dave looks for a counter attack. Infernals have landed. Mortal Coils connect. One Chaos Bolt flying through, a second being casted, a third being casted. This is dangerous for Saza moving forward, but actually taking no damage in the end of that exchange. I was expecting a lot more damage from Dave. A bit unfortunate there, as that could have been a second Ice Block, potentially still can be. Lian, though, in the meantime, snuck away, regenerated a tiny bit of mana to keep his team in the fight. Multiple Chaos Bolts, but Rezus deflected by that Lightning Lasso of Empire. Good line of sighting to avoid interrupts as well, making sure that the stun lasts its full duration. Saza constantly on the back foot in this fight. Rezus once again putting the team in his shoulders. If he can keep carrying the team like this throughout the rest of the season, Plot Twist are looking like a strong contender to qualify.
Yeah, the one weakness of the composition that Plot Twist has is Dave really doesn't have that much mobility in this matchup, so it really is up to Octogone to make sure they're kiting away, trying to line of sight, but Saza just caught into the open. Once again, Dave looking for some damage. Saza blinks midfield. This is not a position you want to be in against a Destruction Warlock. He's basically going to be able to tee off on you. Saza still getting bursted down. Icy Veins gets traded out. Who are they going to go after? a little bit of damage onto Rezus, but I'm not exactly sure what they were looking to do with these offensive cooldowns. Life Cocoon denied any incoming damage. Nicely done by Numliz, keeping Rezus in the fight, allowing to continue this pressure. Nice little swap now over onto Yesdave. Ride the Wind gets used by Rezus, and he's been consistently doing this in the matchup. Like I said, Yesdave doesn't have the most mobility. He's very susceptible to these snares, but Rezus, he's been giving him the Ride the Wind, which gives him suppression to any sort of movement impairing effects, and it allows him to continue to stay in the fight and push in and get this damage rolling.
Definitely good teamwork on the side of Plot Twist, trying to take out the newcomers. Octogone, of course, with an experienced healer such as Leanne, it is not going to be easy to do so. Good trade here on Saza's part, absorbing all of that attack with that temporal shield. Its defense has now faded, but a well-timed counterspell denies further Chaos Bolt follow-up. Saza likely needs to look to line of sight Yesdave as he tries to squeak around the corner. Really feeling the pain here as dampening begins at 4% healing reduction and continuing to rise. Bit of a mistake here on the part of Leanne and Saza, stacking up together and getting double stunned. Chaos Bolt's flying in, but denied by the Hex of Empire. Ultimately, Plot Twist still keep their crowd control going with the paralysis. Doesn't appear to be enough just yet. Yesdave being denied almost entirely by Empire, constantly harassing his cast. Now finally getting some counter pressure going their way as well. Mana still even. It's still anyone's match. Lots of damage here towards Yesdave. Nether Ward denies the kill and allows him to free cast a Chaos Bolt. Perfect precision by Yesdave, but ultimately getting cycloned up now at low health by Leanne. Equally good response. The teams are looking more evenly matched as this continues.
Yep, Yesdave looking for another Chaos Bolt onto Saza. Is he going to be able to find it? Yes, he does, but just not too much damage incoming. Leanne sneaking away for a drink once again in this matchup. And Plot Twist, their offensive pressure has slowed down quite a bit, but Infernals have been dropped. Plot Twist is looking to get aggressive in this matchup. Saza's going to have to play very defensively here. Full Incapacitate used onto Leanne into a double leg sweep. Nicely done by Rezus. Good crowd control from Plot Twist. Can they get the Ice Buff? There's the Temporal Shield. Yesdave, he has to find some Chaos Bolts here. Saza has been doing a good job avoiding him at this point in the game. Line of sighting, making sure he's really limiting the offensive output of Yesdave in this matchup. So yes, Rezus has to find a lot of damage onto Saza to force out this ice block, but in the meantime, Octogone, they've been playing relatively defensive. It's mostly been up to Empire to find these moments of opportunity for his team, these moments of offense, but there's really no openings. Plot Twist, in terms of defense, is doing quite well. Lightning Lasso on Numliz is going to be denying that with the Fortifying Elixir behind the pillar, topping himself off. Yesdave looking for a Chaos Bolt once again onto Saza. Lands, but just doesn't do too much damage. Actually got grounded there by Empire. Nicely done.
Yeah, really good defense by Empire overall throughout this first game. He's been denying a lot of kill windows from the Warlock Yesdave, and I can only imagine that Yesdave is getting increasingly more frustrated as a Warlock. You do not enjoy having your Chaos Bolt interrupted. You just want to secure big damage throughout the whole game, and Empire has been locking him out and preventing that throughout. Now Dark Souls activated. Yesdave wants to make a push. Cataclysm hitting two members behind the pillar, but unable to really get into line of sight just yet to get a Chaos Bolt. Now as they switch targets to Empire, all of the responsibility shifts to Saza to prevent the damage of Yesdave. He's already taking it into control with Polymorph, but despite that, Rezus has forced Astral Shift from Empire, putting him behind on cooldowns. In the meantime, Leanne is trying to carry the team, a very experienced tournament veteran healer. He could be the factor for his team to find victory here. Dampening getting to a critical mass here at 20%. Yesdave going for a Nether Ward Chaos Bolt. Good timing there on his part. Lightning Lasso, though, denies a bit of the follow-up. Will it be enough? Leanne locked out, 14 seconds away from that trinket to get out of crowd control. Huge damage by Rezus. Saza doing whatever he can to prevent Rezus from connecting, splitting his counterspell on the Yesdave. Polymorphs onto Rezus. Good control by Saza now that Empire is feeling the pressure.
Yeah, good damage on the Empire, 23% dampening. Numliz behind on Mana. Saza looking for some counter pressure, manages to find an Ebon Bolt on Numliz, but he's able to easily heal through that damage. Yesdave in a good position to help support right now, looking for a Chaos Bolt. Rezus has to try to keep him in line of sight if he can, but Empire manages to sneak away, still just avoiding Yesdave at all costs in this matchup. Infernal's coming up in around 25 seconds. That's another opportunity for Plot Twist to push in. Astral Shift will be available, but I think if they can get the Astral Shift with the Infernals, then all of a sudden Rezus has a window of opportunity with the Touch of Death, but they're not going to listen to me. Rezus wants to get aggressive right now. Nice crowd control coming in from Plot Twist. Everyone is CC'd. Ironbark looking to deny. Leanne has to trinket out as well. Empire getting lower. If they have to trade out the Astral Shift, this could be disastrous. Empire going to be trying to kite away. Good ring of peace usage by Rezus to keep them in line of sight. And yesterday's line of fire. Yesterday looking for some CC or looking for some damage, but unfortunately unable to find it.
Yeah, Rezus really pioneering some high-level usage of that Ring of Peace, not only using it for defense to bounce targets in the open for the Warlock to rain down devastation as Empire holds on by a thread, but ultimately crushed under the weight of Plot Twist. Asserting dominance in game one, they had a significant advantage. There was good defense on the side of Octogone, but as far as aggression, they're definitely lacking.
Yeah, that's one of those games, though, where you see Dave really does have to hang on there till the end. You know, I even had to check. I grabbed, actually looked on the plugin to make sure he even had the big Chaos Bolts talent, because sometimes you're expecting a big Spicer to come out and you just get a flavor-free baby bolt, and we saw so many of them, and on top of that, he was getting kicked so many times with those big casts. How was Plot Twist finally able to end this one, Zico?
Well, they realized that Saza had his ice block back up now, so he was kind of a useless target to go after. Empire, they managed to force out his trinket, and then they just got themselves a nice crowd control chain. What they like to do is get that incapacitate onto Lian, and then they like to go with that fear follow-up, and then they try to load up a big beefy bolt right there. You can see it. He incapacitate. Nice Chaos Bolt as well on Empire. Empire a little bit late with that Astral Shift as well. And Dave has been on point with these fears. He always finds the fear follow-up on those incapacitates, and that's all you need to really secure those kills.
He's just been on point with the Warlock. I remember, what was it, last week when we were like, wait, really? Is this kind of a meme pick? And now Supertease, he's definitely shown us how strong he is with this specialization.
Yeah, he was going toe-to-toe with Walrix, the Lord of Destruction. So, yes, Dave is definitely a top contender to try and steal that throne of the Warlock King in the European region. But he's also able to play Mage at a top level as well. And I'm curious to see what else he can bring to the table for his team throughout the tournament season. If they can expand their roster even further, it's going to be critical for their victory.
Yeah, now, Zico, when we actually look at these two teams, obviously we look on the side of Octogone, we really haven't seen them go head-to-head yet. How do you assess this matchup? How do you think the entire series does play out?
I think that Plot Twist, they are the aggressors. As long as the game doesn't go on for too long, they will have the advantage. But as the game goes on for longer periods of time, the Resto Druid will get those drinks, and then he will kind of manage to equalize that mana bar and eventually win in that regard. I think it's very important as well when you play these double Wizard Resto Druid comps, like the Mage Alley Resto Druid, to kind of bully Rezus a lot, try to minimize his uptime and focus more on just interrupting Dave, maybe trying to crowd control him. And I want to see Lian push for a few more Cyclones like we saw Chaz do, and then go for drinks at the back of those. It is expensive, but it also kind of makes it a lot more realistic that you get a few ticks when you go sit down for those drinks. So that's really the main thing I want to see here.
Ben, if you were going to predict this series, who do you think does take it?
Well, I feel like Plot Twist, their composition is really solid, and especially on the smaller maps. I think winning game number one is obviously really critical to this series, as if it does go to game 5, that does mean Plot Twist will have the composition as well as the map advantage. And I think on a smaller map, it becomes much more difficult for Octogone to run this composition and show it as successful as it was. Even though they did lose, it wasn't looking too bad for them. If they could have extended a little bit longer, all of a sudden, Dave becomes a really good target. Like I said, he's super susceptible because of the fact that he doesn't have a lot of mobility. So all of a sudden that Frost Mage Elemental Shaman damage really adds up, and it becomes difficult for Plot Twist to get as aggressive as they were.
So Sid, you hear Ven mention how important it is to win that first game and how you can get that compositional advantage. For anybody who's maybe watching for the first time, how exactly is the entirety of a series going to play out?
Yeah, so the start of a new series, you play on the Grand Arena every single time, and both teams lock their compositions in blind, which means that they don't know exactly what is going to be thrown at either side in the specific matchup. And if you can win that game number 1, it then will give you an advantage, assuming the matchup swings back and forth to game 5. It will give you the map pick and the comp advantage for the final game of the series if you can win that blind pick. Of course, the other team has the opportunity to win on the swing matches. That's when you see curveballs. That's when you see the other team try and flip the map that was selected in their own favor by switching their compositions to more properly utilize the effectiveness of the map. And if they're able to accomplish that, they can then take the swing match in their own favor for a potential game number 5. But ultimately, the blind pick is where it all begins, and very important in the series overall.
Okay, yeah, very important to think about here, but Plot Twist obviously on Ashmane's fall could get themselves on match point. And what do we think of Octogone, and how do they win with what they're bringing to Ashmane, Zico?
I just want to see them bully Rezus more, and I want to see Lian just stay in the back, try to get those drinks going, and when Rezus just pushes in, you want to try to crowd control Numbliz and counter pressure. If they can't get that counter pressure, Rezus essentially is just going to be able to do whatever he wants with these guys, and eventually you will force out some of those ice blocks or that astral shift if they go after Empire again, and it just makes it really hard for Octogone to actually recover in a situation like that. So more interrupts on Numbliz, more crowd control on Numbliz, and when you land that, you want to bully Rezus out so he ports away, and then when he ports away, that's your moment to attack Yes Dave and slowly but surely win on that mana bar, because every time they run away, Lian has that opportunity to go for the drink.
Now, right now, we've been talking a lot about how these compositions go head-to-head. We've talked a lot about Warlocks in this season in general, Venrique. You know, Warlocks have kind of a tough go of it last year. Now, all of a sudden, they are one of those casters that we see quite a bit. But how do you assess the meta overall? Like, when we're looking at the entire field of play, when we're talking about this tournament, what compositions do you expect to really pull ahead and be those flavorful compositions that we see?
Well, the compositions that have been doing the best from what I've seen are these double melee teams. It's the Demon Hunters, the Death Knights, the Windwalker Monks. Those are the main focus and core of a team. Then you also have some of these Mage Druid compositions, Rogue Mage Druid, as well as this Elemental Mage Druid as well. Those compositions can sort of try to outlast some of those cleave teams, but with the mana change, it's been really difficult, especially the Demon Hunter with his Mana Rift is going to be able to basically accelerate how fast he can get a healer out of mana, which is very powerful. And those are the comps we've seen, just very durable melee that can keep themselves alive, really limit the amount of healing their own healer has to do while burning through the mana of their enemy quite quickly. These compositions, the Destro Warlock, the Windwalker Monk, they're powerful. They can win, but I think ultimately if they go up against these cleave setups, it becomes very difficult for them.
So when we talk about cleaves being strong, who are top teams? Like, who do we really think the top teams are in EU and NA even? Because I know we look at so many teams in North America and we say, okay, these are teams that when they can cleave, they do look really good. In EU first, who do you think has that advantage right now?
Well, I'd say Method Black is one of those teams that's really good. I mean, Swapsy and Raikou playing the Demon Hunter and the Death Knight, that's a composition they've been utilizing quite a bit. And then they have sort of these counter comps like the Frost Mage, Elemental Shaman, and Resto Druid they can bring in specifically for certain compositions that might give them a difficult time in the tournament. And I think a team like Method Black that's this flexible, that has the cleave setups when they need them, then the counter to those cleaves is going to be in a prime position to win.
In the lower portion of the bracket, that's going to be the biggest thing against them. Comp's going to be something they have. And Zico, when we watch this game right now, I'm going to let you have some time to think of some nice things to say about the NA teams that have cleave compositions. And you can tell us which ones you think are going to be best situated for tomorrow. But now our attention back on Plot Twist and Octogone. Plot Twist looking to get themselves on match point.
I look forward to listening to Zico have to compliment North America, and I'm going to hold him accountable to it at the end of the match.
He's got a little bit of time.
The match is going to be long enough for me to come up with something.
All right, Zico's asking for dampening right now. We'll have to see if we do get there. Yes, Dave, going to start to use those cooldowns. Hex going to mitigate some of that pressure to start things off.
Yeah, Rezus already using Diffuse Magic, looking for some offense with his Touch of Karma. Once again, early game Plot Twist, they're looking for damage onto Saza, trying to deny him, forcing as much damage as possible. Empire's just going to be line of sighting. And now Plot Twist is in a little bit more of an interesting situation because Octogone has realized both Saza and Empire are great targets. And Plot Twist played a little bit of a mind game in that last game, keeping Saza low, pressuring him down, and then ultimately winning the game on Empire. So now both targets going to be very susceptible to this damage that Plot Twist has. It's about if they can actually execute and find those damage windows and how Octogone really responds to it.
We do see these Mistweavers and Restoration Shamans on babysitter duty, trying to deny the Restoration Druid counterparts from getting drinks. So Numbliz is playing a bit aggressive on that position. Now actually deciding to pull away and maybe go after Empire a tad bit. Good leg sweep, but no crowd control on Lian. He's in a position to Tranquility and avoid crowd control. Nicely done there on his part, but ultimately Chaos Bolts are now coming in by Yes Dave. Empire interrupts the follow-up. They go for a Maledict play to try and finish him off as well. Shadow Fury Lian, but he was able to duck around the corner and avoid crowd control off the back end of the stun. Good positioning on Lian's front. You can tell that he is an experienced and veteran tournament healer, but aggressively their coordination is a bit lacking. I think I may have much rather have seen Aeritros tagged in. Rezus finally being pressured by the team of Octogone, forcing a Touch of Karma trade, at least showing signs of life in this series overall. But if they do go down to a match point at the end of this, I want to see Aeritros on that Destruction Warlock, try an Elemental Shaman, Destruction Warlock, Warlock composition, something along those lines.
Yeah, Lian was way behind on mana, down to around 35% very early on in the game, but pretty sure he's able to reset his mana to full sitting in stealth. Nicely done by Octogone. That's going to allow them a free reset in this game. Plot Twist still trying to find some pressure, some momentum. Demon Soul does get activated by Yes Dave, looking for a big Chaos Bolt. Both Saza and Empire are going to be line of sighting, and all three members of Octogone, they're really focusing on just attacking Rezus, just like Zico said, and avoiding all Yes Dave's damage for as long as they can, because I don't think they're going to be able to kill Yes Dave until way later on in dampening, so you might as well try to avoid that damage at all costs, never go midfield, and just keep Yes Dave in snares, keep him unable to really assist the team, and just attack Rezus, who's really the only one who's able to push in.
Yeah, attacking the melee DPS player as a wizard cleave is definitely an effective strategy at dragging the fight out, and then going after the more durable target in dampening. So Destruction Warlock brings heavy defense and survivability to a team and is unlikely to go down before dampening. So going after him early on just exposes yourself to Chaos Bolts. Instead is just a better option to avoid the Destruction Warlock. Go after the Windwalker Monk, and you're either going to kill him when he overextends or force him to run away and deny his damage. So either way, you are going to be able to secure an advantage with that strategy, and it is proving to be a lot more effective here in game number 2 as Rezus starts to dip low. He may need to try and kite away. He's trying to get aggressive, actually, instead securing some leg sweep here onto Saza, but now a Temporal Shield timed, absorbing these Chaos Bolts. This Temporal Shield will be gigantic and likely healing Saza back to full health. Well timed on his part.
Yeah, Numless throwing in a Maledict once again, trying to keep Saza low in this situation. Iron Bark looking to deny. Nicely done by Lian. Activates the Iron Bark as well as the Innervate, which is that blue ability below his bar. You can see it looks like a Thunderbolt. That's going to allow him to get basically free cast. It heals off, I believe, for 10 or 12 seconds. Any spells that he casts are free of charge, so it's a really good spell for Resto Druids to use when they're in a critical moment where they actually have to spend a lot of mana on those expensive heals to keep their team alive.
Yeah, most certainly well timed by Lian. Let's see if he can carry the team on his healer role. They're going to need probably significant dampening to find a kill, but overall, the defense for the team of Plot Twist has completely reset at this point. Yes, Dave is looking to get aggressive. The Nether Ward gets purged off and wind sheared. Good defense on Empire's part, disabling a lot of Yes Dave's damage boost within these couple of seconds. Now retreating out of line of sight. That forces Yes Dave to switch targets, trying to go after Saza in midfield, connecting one Chaos Bolt, but not forcing too much damage off of it. And it's actually Rezus taking a huge brunt of damage in this position. Now trading Diffuse Magic, redirecting that Maledict Absorb and reducing magical damage. Well timed, now trying to lead the charge. Touch of Death activated. Chaos Bolt connects along with it, forcing Empire to make a trade. Astral Shift will now reduce this damage significantly and start to stabilize his health. But in the meantime, Plot Twist have secured an even further lead with regards to mana. Lian is trying to sneak away, I believe, at this moment in time. I'm curious to see how much he actually regenerates. Just enough to put himself at a massive lead over Numliz, moving into dampening. Perfect timing by Lian.
Yeah, excellently done, but we see time and time again the Resto Druids having to consistently drink in order to keep their mana on par with these Mistweaver Monks and Restoration Shamans, so not necessarily going to keep that lead forever, but Lian so far has been doing a good job making sure he's keeping his mana at a very healthy spot. And this is the first time in the series we've seen Plot Twist basically have no openings. They've been playing very defensive in the matchup. Empire and Saza have been doing a really good job denying them. Nice Frost Nova on the Tiger's Lust of Rezus, denying him that mobility. Diminishing Return Leg Sweep going to be thrown in. Bit of a misplay there by Rezus, not really getting the optimal uptime on that stun. And Saza should be able to kite away. Yes, Dave, looking for some Chaos Bolts. I want to see Empire and Saza get out of midfield once again. This is not the game-winning position. Their strategy is a lot better when they're just running around the pillar, trying to avoid the Destruction Warlock at all costs. A nice swap now over on the Numliz, nicely done by Octogone, forcing Plot Twist to play a little bit defensive.
Yeah, Plot Twist finally forced into a defensive position by the team of Octogone, deeper into dampening. This is when they need to get into the driver's seat and start steering themselves to a victory. Otherwise, Plot Twist is simply going to advance, putting themselves on match point and moving further into the tournament. This is an elimination match, a best of 5. The loser of this goes completely out of the tournament and home. Rezus being pressured. They need to try and pull a touch of karma. They do at least get Life Cocoon here, shield absorbing a lot of incoming damage. Good crowd control at the back end of it as they switch targets to Numliz, trying to expose his positioning a tad bit, but ultimately deflected by Yes Dave. Empire gets clotheslined. Fears look good so far. Empire in a bit of trouble here at Dampening as the Dampening ramps up. A grounding totem soaks up that Chaos Bolt. Empire can retreat back to the pillar. Having to make a trade though with Astral Shift before Touch of Death of Rezus means that Rezus has an opening here to get a kill for another minute and 18 seconds. If they can get crowd control on Leanne, something along the lines of a paralysis or a fear, coordinate that with Touch of Death, burst onto Empire with a couple of Maledicts, and they can close the game out in just a few moments.
Yeah, we want to see Numliz push in, look for that crowd control with the paralysis, with the leg sweep, and that's when Plot Twist can really get aggressive. But a bash over onto Numliz slows down that crowd control just a bit. Yes, Dave looking for a Chaos Bolt, managing to find one onto Empire, two, but really not too much damage. Empire with line of sight will be able to mitigate and avoid a lot of that incoming damage. Cyclone onto Rezus, and Octogone has been dealing with these offensive pushes much better in this game than in game number 1.
Yeah, most certainly, and Leanne is able to sneak away much more often and regenerate mana, which is a big part to their team's capability to win this match, because the Mistweaver will out-mana the Druid otherwise. Rezu's being pressured. His window of opportunity is being lost. 24 seconds until that Astral Shift will make a trade. He's got a 20-second window to make something happen. I want to see Rezus get aggressive and start getting on top of Empire, the Elemental Shaman. He's being thwarted, though, with this Lightning Lasso, pinning him down in place. Yes, Dave makes a push, gets a fear. Tremor Totem available. Good trade on Empire's part. They go for Paralysis Leg Sweep. 5 more seconds to get a kill. Three more seconds to get a kill. Empire completely kites out of line of sight of Yes Dave. Now he's bought enough time for Astral Shift should he need to trade. He does not need to. Leanne activates Iron Bark, reducing the damage. That window of opportunity completely lost by the side of Plot Twist, and an opportunity for Octogone to stay in the match.
Yeah, and it's really difficult for Rezus to generate a lot of pressure on Empire in this matchup. Whenever he uses Storm, Earth, and Fire, Empire's just kiting around in Ghost Wolf, using the Thunderstorm on Fisted Fury, dropping the Earth Grab Totem, and that really limits the amount of damage Rezus is able to do. And if Yes Dave can't connect damage, then Empire simply won't go down until a little bit later on in the game. And now Rezus forced to retreat once again, looking for some pressure onto Saza as Leanne's sitting down to drink, or no, looking to get out of combat to drink. Unfortunately for him, Numliz was able to deny, and now Plot Twist, they actually have a mana lead in this matchup. Rezus with his Touch of Karma, with his Diffuse Magic, going to be feeling relatively healthy in order to make an offensive push. But Yes Dave caught in midfield, taking tons of burst from Octogone. Nice pressure, full polymorph secured on a Numliz. Yes Dave might have to retreat. This could be the unending resolve, potentially. But Numliz with the beautiful life cocoon keeps Yes Dave alive and allows him to go aggressive on Empire.
All right, let's see if they can get a kill here. Mana is getting critical for Octogone. Dampening is getting insanely high. It is going to be impossible for healers at a certain point to continue healing their teammates, and likely a race to the finish. There would be, I would say, more opportunity for the team of Plot Twist in this position. So Octogone need to be the playmakers, but they also need to manage their resource mana to try and get to the point where they can find victory. They're falling behind. Huge burst window. Race against the Temporal Shield. Might be a race that they lose. Chaos Bolt snuck in 1 second before that Hex landed onto Yes Dave. Empire cannot afford to play sloppy. His grounding totems need to deny big Chaos Bolts. His hexes need to be a bit quicker. Otherwise, Yes Dave may be able to slip away a victory and slip away a kill with one of these Chaos Bolts soon.
Yep, Leanne activating his Innervate, looking to empower his heals, make them free of cost. As he's getting low on mana, Leanne has to at some point slip away for a drink. If Plot Twist can keep up the consistent pressure and slow down the drinks, it's an opportunity. Yes Dave dropping his Infernals, wants to keep the aggression, dropping a Demonic Gateway as well, looking to just get in line of sight, looking for any damage he can in this game, but Octogone making it very difficult, keeping up the snares. Saza forced into his Ice Block. He was scared of that Chaos Bolt. Empire actually grounded it, so maybe an overreaction there by Saza, but you can never be too careful against a Warlock like Yes Dave. And those Chaos Bolts are extremely scary, but with the miscommunication, that ultimately banks Plot Twist a free Ice Block.
Leanne needs to sneak away and get a drink. His mana is starting to sink. He needs to start to think, otherwise his life will disappear in a blink. Will he be able to pull it off? He needs to pull something off soon, otherwise it's going to be nothing but doom and gloom. Cyclone secured, opportunity knocks. Yes Dave gets bursted, caught out in center field, getting crushed under the weight of Octogone. See ya later. We're going to game 3. Octogone put a point on the board.
All tied up. Octogone not going to be gone yet, and we are going to see them take down the Warlock. Zico, how are they able to do it?
Well, they managed to get Numlis Trinket a little bit previously in the match, and then now they found themselves a nice opportunity where Numlis was kind of overextending, trying to shut down Leanne's drink, because this is always what pretty much happens. The healer goes for the drink, the other healer has to chase him, and then a window opens up, and of course they capitalize on that window. And also a little bit of a misplay from Yes Dave, using that unending resolve way too late there, basically a second or two right before he went down at the end of that one. And we can see now Leanne, you can see his mana bar is about 10%. He's gonna move across the map, which means that he's gonna have his two wizards in front of him, kind of slowing everybody down. Numlis, no gladiators medallion available. He's gonna realize, oh, Leanne is going for that drink. It's my job to shut him down. So he moves across. Yes Dave, he thinks he's fine. He's gonna go offensive right here. And then all of a sudden, Leanne sneaks in that cyclone out of nowhere. The pressure turns onto Yes Dave, who is in the middle of the map. Unending resolve gets activated way too late right there. And of course, Leanne at the back of those cyclones, and that's what we were talking about in the pregame. When he goes for those drinks, I want to see him throw out a cyclone, because it just adds so much more pressure. It forces the enemy healer to stay in and be forced to just stay and heal, and that actually nets him the drink, even if they don't get the kill there.
Now, we talk about swing matches. That is something that we potentially see here. Octogone may be able to turn this in their favor and put themselves on match point. We're all tied up. You're not going to want to go anywhere. Well, you heard it from Zico. We want to see these players make some meaningful connections. Octogone versus Plot Twist.
Yep, and one of the things about this matchup in particular is I think Plot Twist eventually has a target they can actually sit on. So if Yes Dave lines up his damage correctly with Rezus, they could potentially take Eritros down. We've seen Rezus before use the Tiger Eye Brew PvP talent, which is a stacking buff you can eventually use, which basically makes your attacks nature damage and bypass armor. And as Eritros on the Destruction Warlock has a whole bunch of armor, it is super effective. And I think if he can line that up on Eritros with a good crowd control chain on Leanne, Plot Twist definitely still has an opening in this match.
Rezus not taking a good exchange of damage here early on, getting clotheslined by that Lightning Lasso, but manages to bait Empire down below. Transcendence Portal back on top of the bridge, but portaling back into a Warlock is not exactly the safest locale for this map. It's going to be devastation. I do like Eritros being tagged in here to go toe-to-toe with the Destruction Warlock mirror at the top of this bridge. A Chaos Bolt here at any moment, if secured, could be the end of the match. Eritros gets Ring of Peace off the ledge. Rezus in hot pursuit to take him down. Fear on Leanne. Empire nowhere to be found with a Tremor Totem. Bit of a mistake there on the side of Octogone, putting Eritros further behind.
Yeah, Eritros getting low. Leanne should be able to top him off. Lightning Lasso by Empire denies Rezus. Eritros looking for a Chaos Bolt. And this is going to be a difficult matchup for Yes Dave. He has to deal with the interrupts coming in from Eritros, grounding from Empire, wind shear from Empire as well. So he's going to really have to find these moments with cross crowd control onto Empire if they eventually do want to take down Eritros. Otherwise, there's just simply too many interrupts for him to deal with.
Yeah, most certainly here. Thorns actually selected by Leanne to get a bit more aggressive in terms of counter pressure towards Rezus. An interesting decision on his part to get a bit more aggressive and some extra damage for his team against a melee attacker, especially on Blade's Edge Arena. Lightning Lasso, Chaos Bolt combined together is quite a devastating attack as they both initiate it towards Rezus. But these Rings of Peace by Rezus have been MVP and key for his team's victory throughout all the past cups and including today. Yes Dave securing a Chaos Bolt over on Eritros combined with Fists of Fury. This is also a devastating combination of spells. Yes Dave looking for more damage. Another Chaos Bolt. Leanne out of position, desperately trying to get in line of sight and stabilize Eritros, and that is the chaos that this map brings to the table. You can quickly be lost with a simple knockback. Eritros now counterattacking, but absorbed and denied by Numlis.
Yeah, and I think this composition selection from Octogone could eventually backfire. I think it's going to be becoming increasingly more difficult for Leanne to actually heal up Eritros, and these pushes from Plot Twist have been super effective so far. Not able to get the unending resolve just yet, but potentially very soon. Yes, they've taken a little bit of damage. Eritros getting interrupted, and Rezus with his leg sweep, his paralysis, spear hand strike, as well as that Ring of Peace, is going to be able to deny Eritros from really getting off significant bursts as long as they line it up correctly.
All right, double Shadow Fury. Yes, Dave opting to trade out and maybe try to counter-aggress, unable to get into line of sight. But there are important cooldowns that Octogone no longer have at their disposal, that being the Gladiator's medallions of both Empire and Lian. Empire cannot activate defensive cooldown Astral Shift without that, but instead Plot Twist make a swap to Erytros. They at least pull Iron Bark from him, so now they can make a switch back to Empire with maybe a potential Ring of Peace into a leg sweep off the downstairs ramp. This may be key. Lian is going to have difficulty drinking on this map. He's just going to go for it in the center of the bridge. He knows that he has to regenerate mana if he wants to take his team into a later stage of the match. He regenerates some to at least bring it close to parity with Numliz. Yes, Dave on the back foot here as huge damage flies through from Erytros off the back of these Infernals and Dark Soul combination. Rezus locking crowd control. The entire team of Plot Twist actually at this moment in time. Rezus is the primary target. Numliz still unable to heal. Infernals get dropped here in desperation for Erytros to counter-aggress, but Yes Dave deflects with that double Mortal Coil. Empire now knocking Yes Dave off the side with that Thunderstorm. Ring of Peace now knocking Erytros off the side here, and this is why Blade's Edge is often not selected in a tournament setting. Things can spiral out of control quickly if you're caught in a bad position, as multiple players are punted to the sides of the arena.
Yeah, Erytros still on the bottom side of the map looking for some damage, but he's just been denied so much by Rezus in this matchup, unfortunately, but Lian's been doing a good job running away, sneaking off for these drinks. Without some of the cooldowns Plot Twist has available, Erytros really isn't under too much pressure just yet, so once Lian deals with the burst, he does feel comfortable getting away and finding some drinks in the matchup, and that's what he's been doing so far. Erytros still under fire in midfield. Rezus all over him. Yes, Dave finds the Mortal Coil with the Fear on the Empire. Nice Shadow Fury as well into a Refear. Nicely done. Yes, Dave with beautiful cross crowd control just by himself, but Erytros manages to keep Rezus away with some fears and really slow down some of the damage Plot Twist has.
Lian has been doing a great job to manage his drinks throughout this fight on a close quarters map, and he definitely could carry his team to victory. I love the substitute in for Erytros. I think this composition is much better suited to try and get a kill in dampening than the Elemental Shaman Frost Mage they were running earlier. Rezus gets bursted here as dampening has just begun. Both healers starting in a great position, but cooldown-wise, Rezus potentially in trouble. Numliz stabilizes. No overextension in terms of defensive trades. Rezus not getting thunderstormed off the side. A bit of a misplay on Empire's part. Rezus actually going after Erytros now. He is not going to be overextending, line of sighting his team, and potentially opening himself up to Lightning Lasso. Ring of Peace prevents Erytros from reconnecting onto Lian, but Numliz gets intercepted with a Hex. He can't continue the chain. Now Lian can get in line of sight and restabilize. Both teams trading crowd control quite effectively. Chaos Bolt's being chucked towards Erytros. Lian using that wild charge to jump back up the Z-axis to his partner Yes Dave, maybe to look for crowd control, but gets shut down by Numliz. Double cross paralysis. Erytros' Dark Soul effectively negated with that crowd control. They can now line of sight him up top. That Capacitator Totem holds Yes Dave in place. A little bit of a disrespect on Yes Dave's part to not duck out of line of sight for these Chaos Bolts casted by Erytros as they just go at each other. Dampening now at 7%. Healer mana lead in favor of Octogone, and potentially they can swing the series back in their favor. Everything rests on Rezus.
Yeah, I think so too. Rezus has been doing a good job with this pressure, and this pressure is going to become more significant as healing reduction ramps up with dampening. Erytros getting a little bit low. Iron Bark has to be tossed out by Lian. Potential opening. Rezus has his Touch of Death available in 30 seconds, but it does perfectly line up with Lian's Iron Bark, so he will be able to make that trade eventually if he needs to. Rezus getting bursted down. Needs to be a little bit careful. He's going to be a little bit scared as well. Numliz has to make sure he's connecting these heals, keeping Rezus nice and aggressive. Infernals does get dropped out by Erytros. Both Infernals actually get dropped out. Warlocks mirroring each other in this matchup, looking for some additional pressure for their teams. Numliz pushes in, looking to deny a drink from Lian. Lian has to get some healing on Erytros in this matchup. Rezus forced to trade out the Touch of Karma. Good burst coming in from Erytros. A lot of his cooldowns were committed. Rezus has to run away a little bit in this matchup, looking once again for some more damage. Chaos Bolt does connect, trades out the Touch of Karma to deny it, and that is going to be a Ring of Peace, forcing Erytros on the ground once again, giving Plot Twist a positional advantage.
Multiple Maledicts, Mortal Coil, luckily for Yes Dave, out of Erytros' line of sight. But a Hex secured. Numliz has to trinket. Still powerful defense forced on the side of Plot Twist. I would say that Octogone have this match moving in their favor quite heavily. They could swing this series and have the swing match advantage for a Game 5. A very important victory for Octogone overall in the series as they face elimination if they go down in this series. Rezus gets gets bursted. Wind Shear timed perfectly. Lightning Lasso to try and finish the job, but Diffuse Magic is more than enough to deny. Rezus restabilizes, but is running thin on cooldowns. Aeritros has Dark Soul available. If he can find an opportunity to secure a big Chaos Bolt with that cooldown, preemptively activating the cooldown, trying to bait and interrupt on a Fear, not finding that baited interrupt. Rezus holding on to it, but now ultimately double Mortal Coil. Rezus off the side. Aeritros actually switches targets and goes after Yes Dave. I still think that would have been a better attack onto Rezus instead, but regardless, Octogone's pressure is establishing itself.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure, and a lot of that comes from Empire's Hex. There's no Hex to spell or no Curse to spell on the side of Plot Twist, so if he can land these Hexes onto Numliz consistently, that is a big opening for Octogone to get aggressive, especially if they can land a double Mortal Coil. Full leg sweep now on Empire, getting some burst damage rolling is Rezus, and Yes Dave unfortunately out of line of sight, so they weren't able to fully utilize that stun, unfortunately. Rezus still low, needs to make sure his portal is in a good position. Right now it's in midfield. You can see that little Transcendence portal on the ramp. I would want to see him put that out of line of sight so he can escape if he really needs to. Right now, with the way it's positioned, he's very vulnerable to this incoming Elemental Shaman and Warlock damage. Caught in midfield once again, looking to get aggressive, but caught into the bash. Rezus could be in some trouble. He does have his Trinket and Karma, but doesn't want to have to trade them out. At this point in dampening, sometimes those short cooldowns, they don't have enough time to regenerate, and you become very vulnerable, and you sort of lose your ability to make an offensive push without them.
Well, Lian is definitely back with a huge lead in mana here on game 3. Cooldown lead as well as Diffuse Magic is traded out. Rezus dips low. How much longer can he really go is the question. Who knows? Empire tries to kite, has to trade Touch of Karma or potentially Good Night. Rezus stays in the fight just a little bit longer, but things are definitely getting tight. How are they going to keep this going? Numliz in a good position, now trying to cross center field. Ring of Peace, knocking Aeritros downstairs, giving Numliz the clear to potentially move in, and it might be oh dear for Lian if he can get an Incapacitate into a Fear. Numliz just needs to pull the trigger on it, but he's just not going for it. Now he gets bashed up. Yes Dave in trouble, potentially a throwaway, activating that Nether Ward, absorbing that Maledict. Good timing by Yes Dave as he tries to stay in the fight. Good Thunderstorm, knocking Aeritros out and away. Will he find the kill? No, double leg sweep. Good stack here for Plot Twist to potentially get a kill. Aeritros in trouble. Lian responds, but will it be enough at 32% dampening?
Incapacitate on Lian, slowing down some of that healing from the Iron Bark. Aeritros with really no defensive left. Rezus looking to close out this game as Yes Dave pushes in as well. Plot Twist, they're looking good in terms of their offensive capabilities, but that full Hex secured by Empire. Good counter pressure on Rezus. He has to Trinket out of the Lightning Lasso, gets interrupted. Empire in hot pursuit. Rezus caught in midfield, ports away, but a beautiful Vortex by Lian pulls Rezus back in the midfield. If Aeritros can find some damage here, they might be able to take out Rezus, but Yes Dave has just been controlling him so much. He wasn't really able to help out Empire in that final push, and they might have been able to take Rezus down. Yes Dave looking to reposition his gateway, looking for a Fear. Lian with no Trinket, vulnerable to crowd control. Aeritros with no defense. There's still a huge opening for Plot Twist to close out this game.
Yep, most certainly it's an evenly fought fight at this point. Yes Dave trying to lead the charge with a couple of Chaos Bolts chucked out towards Aeritros. Crowd control is good on Lian. They need a Tremor Totem, but it's not available for 3 more seconds. Leg sweep out of the back end of this crowd control chain. Perfect initiation by Plot Twist, but where's the damage? They needed more damage on that push. Can they close it out with nothing but brute force is the question. With 40% dampening and Lian tapped on mana, it's looking likely. Aeritros gets knocked out of line of sight, potentially with that Chaos Bolt. Yes Dave unable to connect, trying to sneak his way back over, but he's getting Earth Shocked, activating Nether Ward, reflecting any potential interrupts. Good timing. It's a race to the finish. Both Warlocks in trouble. Yes Dave has cooldowns to trade. He may just need to trade them, and he does at very low HP. No mana left. A race to the finish as this is likely to close soon. Numliz still with the advantage. Plot Twist trying to move to match point, securing further crowd control. Ironbark's defense is about to fade. Aeritros has to do something quick, but he just can't handle it. The damage is too high. Both Warlocks in trouble, but the crowd control gets reversed. Aeritros secures it despite all the pressure. Rezus still looking for the kill. Lian with nothing to work with, but Aeritros MVP play in these final seconds of the match, securing crowd control under the entire team and netting a kill despite having only 10% health remaining.
Such a smart pick by Octogone. The Warlocks go head-to-head, and Eritros going to come out on top. And now we see them just one game away from taking it. And you look at Plot Twist and you say, after the way this series has played out, Zico, how are they not just going to be stuck in a glass case of emotion after that?
Yeah, that was a really tough loss for them for sure. I want to just say Octogone had a beautiful map pick. Well, Plot Twist had a beautiful map pick, but Octogone had the perfect response there, bringing in the Destro Warlock. They're going to bring in Eritros, the main Destro Warlock, of course, against Yes Dave. And we can really see how those micro globals there at the end of the match really help Octogone secure this one. You see Eritros is the one on the back foot. Leanne, of course, as well, with barely any mana left, coming in with that bash just to slow things down for a little bit. There, Yes Dave gets the double Mortal Coil. Empire, though, trinkets out of that one, tries to slow things down, and then Eritros here in the final seconds manages to get that spell lock, manages to get the fear, just manages to get 2 Mortal Coils right there as well, CCing the entirety of the team and managing to save himself and also set up a kill all at the same time. Really, really expert Destro Warlock gameplay there.
My question is, what is the chance that we see that Warlocks standoff again? 2 Warlocks just go mano-y-mano, squaring off, blasting bolts at each other.
Honestly, they might just pick it now. It didn't seem too terrible. Of course, it was very close there at the end of it, but I think on a bigger map, maybe the game would be even more in their favor, honestly.
Okay, so you think that there is a shot that we see the Warlock again. Ven, you were one of the first people who actually called it out and said, this is a great composition pick based off of the map. What do you think about seeing it again as we do move to some of these other maps?
I don't think it would be bad. That was a really close game, though, and I think on a larger map, potentially the Frost Mage would be a little bit better of a pick for them to lock in blind, just because you do have that ability to kite around a little bit more. I think Eritros on the Destruction Warlock is going to be way more vulnerable as a target, and late game as the Frost Mage, with the amount of snares and roots and novas you have at your disposal, you can sort of abuse the fact that Yes Dave is on that Destruction Warlock, limit his damage throughout the entire game, and then when those defensives are a little bit too low later on in dampening, I think that's really where you secure your edge. But like Zico was saying, Octogone, they could be feeling confident in that matchup and once again just lock it in blind.
Yeah, I think that is something that we could maybe see. Now the matchup has played out. You kind of are forced into that pick, right? When you see Blades Edge Arena, but after you see the composition work for you, you go to a different map. Maybe all of a sudden Octogone does play this. What map do you think we see here, Sid?
I mean, I think they were trying to utilize the double Mistweaver Monk, so 2 Ring of Frost or 2 Ring of Peace, sorry, to knock the enemy team around, but they were also just equally getting knocked around. I think it was really important that they substituted Eritros in. I actually think that this is like the King Wizard Cleave comp, or at least one of them. I actually think it's better than the Frost Mage Elemental Shaman, maybe not into something like Rogue Mage, but even then I still think it's a bit more potent on that front, and it may be possible that if Eritros can play this composition throughout the entire tournament, they could perform quite well overall.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that we mentioned before we even did get into this game, talking about the strength of not only the compositions that we're looking at, but Warlocks in general, the Destruction Warlock, and what we can expect to see from that. That's important as we do move forward. Of course, we are on the lower side of the bracket. This is an elimination series. Whoever loses this is going to be going home, and Dalaran Sewers may be the last map we see, and this is going to be the telling thing here. Octogone needs to lock in blind because they just won the last series. So whether or not we're going to see a Destruction Warlock, we're going to find out in just a short minute here.
Yeah, and last week we actually saw this map selected by Plot Twist, and we saw Yes Dave on the Death Knight as well. So they played Windwalker, Death Knight, Mistweaver. They didn't look super great on it as they lost, but it's also an option here for Plot Twist. Maybe throughout the week they've been polishing up Yes Dave's Death Knight even more. If they were to lock in the Warlock blind, that could also be a potential answer from Plot Twist.
Yeah, so Octogone is going to go for the Warlock line of play. Eritros going to be brought out again on Dalaran Sewers, and now Death Knight is something we need to keep in mind. How do you like a Death Knight here, Supatis?
I mean, it could work. It's definitely taking advantage of the map, but I still think the Elemental Shaman and Destruction Warlock are more than utilized. It can be utilized effectively against that setup. I think Plot Twist should probably not make any changes, just execute a bit better. They could have traded that unending resolve a couple seconds sooner before Dave was so low on health, and then if he had just reduced all that damage that brought him low, he would have been killing Erytros. So it comes down to that last couple of seconds deep into dampening, and if you make one slip up or you don't react right away to something, you end up going down and losing. So if they can clean up their game really late in dampening, I think they can still win with the same comp they've been running, the Windwalker, Destruction Warlock.
Okay, what do you want to see, Ven?
I don't know. In terms of comfort, I think the Destruction Warlock is going to be more of a comfort pick, but I think taking advantage of this map in full Windwalker Death Knight, we've seen how strong it is, and we talked about what I think are the best compositions in this particular meta, and I think if they can execute, especially on this smaller map, that would give them a decent edge in this matchup, and they're taking a little while to really consider their options here, and potentially we do see the Death Knight. You're going to have a lot of uptime with the Death Knight and the Windwalker Monk on a target like Erytros. He's not really going to be able to escape. You have a lot of stops for the Chaos Bolt. And then with that Tiger Eye Brew, you have that burst to finally take down Erytros when you really need to. And Octogone, they'll have to play really well in order to counter pressure Plot Twist enough to actually win the game.
Potential win condition there. The clock, finally, it is going to be locked in. And
Shaman.
Yeah. How do you like a Shaman as a healer here, Sid?
I mean, it brings a lot of good utility against a spellcaster, Cleve, but I don't think Shaman is particularly in the best situation right now. It really relies on a Death Knight's self-sustainability as well as a Demon Hunter's self-sustainability. We saw that composition a lot, especially in North America, as well as Method Black. But when you play with a Windwalker who maybe isn't as self-sufficient, or a Destruction Warlock that isn't as self-sufficient, your healing becomes a lot more exposed. And there are multiple interrupts available with Wind Shear and Spell Lock. It's a risky move, but I think it's one that he kind of needs to make.
I think Numlis looked really good on the Mistweaver. I think the Shaman for sure brings a lot of nice things to the comp. You get the Grounding Totem, you get the Wind Shears, so you have a lot more disruption in general for those Chaos Bolts, which is nice, but I'm not sold on how Numlis would perform on it. We haven't really seen him play too much. He mains a Disc Priest, and he's looked good on the Mistweaver, so we kind of know that on those two healers, he seems very comfortable. The Shaman could potentially be another thing that he has in the bag that he's been practicing, but I think it's also a case of how much do you gain from switching over to the Shaman versus how much comfort do you lose from giving up the Mistweaver. The Shaman, if he's just as good on it, I would like it, but I'm not sure that he is.
Okay, so this actually reminded me of something. You know, you say you're not 100% sure how confident you are of Numlis on the Shaman. We know that a lot of the best Shamans do reside in North America, some of the best Shamans in the world, and you said you were going to talk about the strength of a lot of the North American Cleave teams. Which teams from North America do you think actually do fare well as far as Cleaves are concerned?
Honestly, the best team right now in North America is the boys and Method Orange and Super Frogs, just like the standings suggest. Super Frog because of Chun-Li. Chun-Li is the king Windwalker in North America in my mind. The boys, they have the DK and the Windwalker. They look phenomenal on it. And Method Orange, reigning champions. What else do I need to say?
And folks, of course, we can look forward to those teams and plenty more tomorrow when we do get to see the top 8 from North America. But now, all eyes on Octogone and Plot Twist as Octogone try to close this out.
Yeah, early bash onto Numlis. Are they going to be able to find the pressure that they need? Numlis getting really low, having to trade out the Astral Shift as well, but Octogone traded out a lot of offensives. Erytros, he's already used his Unending Resolve. Ironbark's already been used. Leanne's already traded out his Trinket. What is going on? Plot Twist finding a lot of pressure and momentum, potentially playing a little bit too aggressive here onto Numlis. And I was going to say, one of the other benefits of Numlis being on the Resto Shaman is I think he's going to be able to have a much easier time slowing down some of the drinks from Leanne. He can chase him, drop totems to keep him in combat. That's a little bit more utility to slow down some of those drinks, which I think is the ultimate win condition of Octogone.
Well, if you're Octogone, you're on match point. You saw Numlis, who's known for his Disc Priest and his Mistweaver Monk, lock in a Shaman. They're probably thinking, all right, we've got a game to throw away. Let's just see what Numlis can do. If he can't handle us all inning him, then we just walk away with the series. If he does, oh well, we've still got game 5 ultimately to rely on if we need it. So I don't actually really say that that was a wasted effort. Now they've got Rezus on the back foot. They're definitely raining down terror here as they try to just advance in the tournament. The substitute bringing in Erytros is going to be critical for Octogone. I think this is the composition that they should play until a team can force them off of it. It's very well rounded and really brings devastation to the battlefield. Currently, the Numlis healer is locked out in crowd control with a Hex, but no damage. It's actually Erytros who is on the back foot, and that is a result of their aggressive stance early early on. Lian has now finally restabilized that situation at the expense of some mana. Numliz getting feared up though. Octogone has been crowd controlling Numliz, but not finding enough damage really to force any defensive cooldowns when that crowd control is secured. They definitely need to coordinate better in that regard. Save the Lightning Lasso for those moments, or the Stormkeeper when they can get Numliz locked in a Hex or a Fear, then go for Lightning Lasso. If those are not coordinated together, they're just going to lack the damage or lack the crowd control in that given situation.
Yeah, and pre-dampening, I actually don't mind Destruction Warlocks trading out their Unending Resolve to play a little bit aggressive. They almost took down Numliz and got a lot of defensive cooldowns, and Eritros, he's going to be feeling relatively healthy. Destruction Warlocks have a lot of self-sustainability with their passive healing, as well as how much armor they have. They're a very difficult target to take down, so I think using some of that defense as offense really early on isn't a bad call, and I think Eritros is going to be feeling completely healthy and fine till that comes back up in another 40 seconds as he trinkets out of Rezus' leg sweep. Still looking for a little bit of pressure, unfortunately not able to find it just yet. Lian once again sitting in stealth, looking for a drink, and Lian in these games, he's been doing a good job not finding mana right there, and I think Numliz actually was able to hunt him down, and I think that really is the main point of bringing in a Restoration Shaman in this matchup. Numliz is going to have a much easier time shutting down some of these drinks, as well as being able to deny some of the crowd control, the hexes, the fears on him, which ultimately lost him the game on Blade's Edge. Yeah, bringing in those ranged totems is definitely worth noting that Numliz has available to deny drinks, but Lian did actually sneak away and regenerate full mana, so not utilizing that effectively. Numliz getting caught in midfield with a bash. How much damage do they have available? Empire really trying to tear in for a kill. Fortunately for Numliz, the waterfall came down, so he can use that to line of sight, but they actually go for a double Maledict. Numliz now trading that Spirit Walker's Grace, ducking out of line of sight, catching a quick healing surge, but he left Dave behind. Numliz now trying to recover as Maledict is tossed over onto Dave. He is able to start to stabilize. Eritros on the back foot here as Rezus tries to carry the team, but Dave gets punted away into a double Mortal Coil. Eritros setting up triple crowd control, but Numliz preemptively Tremor Totem that fear. Good read on Numliz's part, breaking up that chain and denying a devastating moment potentially for his team. Yeah, definitely a little bit of a scary moment. Close call there. Octogone leading this series 2-1 so far. This is Plot Twist map, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like they're really able to fully utilize it just yet. Still, Octogone's been doing a really good job finding pressure, finding momentum. Rezus with the Touch of Death looking to get really aggressive, but that's going to get shut down by Lian's Iron Bark. So every time Lian has that cooldown available, it's going to be reducing incoming damage as well as increasing his healing on a target. And it is really difficult to push through that powerful defensive cooldown that the Restoration Druid does bring to the table. Now that that's down for another 25 seconds, this is a window of opportunity for Plot Twist to try to get a little bit aggressive, but fortunately the damage just isn't there just yet. Numliz caught into a fear. Double Mortal Coil onto Rezus. Big pressure from Octogone. Lightning Lasso does get used, but gets interrupted immediately. Nicely done by Numliz, backing up Rezus and keeping him alive. They are on match point, and that was quite a close call here for Plot Twist. They can't afford to throw anything away. If they lose this, they will be eliminated from the tournament, and Octogone will have an opportunity to place some big points on the board for their team for the rest of the spring season. Numliz locked out in crowd control, but again, no damage to back it up. Eritros and Empire already committing that Lightning Lasso, which is pivotal to their team to find a kill. Coordinating that with Chaos Bolt is a necessity. Lian sitting down for a drink. Eritros needs to be careful when his healer is doing this, as he will take heavy damage, dipping low on health. Lian trying to respond to this with no trade, manages to get away without having to. Rezus could now be counter-pressured. He's portaling away. He doesn't want to be exposed to the thorns, but now Dave gets punted back into midfield. Good Thunderstorm set up by Empire. Dave gets bursted. Numliz is locked out in crowd control. A very good chain initiated here by the team of Octogone as they look to close. Dave denies the kill, but it may not be enough. This Unending Resolve reducing just enough damage to potentially stay alive in the fight. 1 second left on that Hex. Spearling Totem barely connects. That would have been match point. It may still be the case because damage is just not stopping from Octogone. Yeah, Eritros with a huge Chaos Bolt almost taking Dave out of the game. Good night. Fortunately, Numliz was able to save the day with that Spirit Link Totem, keeping Plot Twist in this tournament. Eritros taking a little bit of pressure right now. Did trade out his Unending Resolve in that last exchange, looking to get aggressive. I don't mind those moves. It almost won them the game twice. But now Rezus is going to be able to counter pressure. Dave finding Chaos Bolt after Chaos Bolt. Any crowd control in Lian could end out the game, but Lian manages to sneak in the Iron Bark. Eritros going to be feeling pretty healthy with that. Are they going to be able to push through? Lian's still really struggling to find the healing he needs. Throws out a Wild Growth. Eritros getting interrupted. Good damage coming in from Rezus. Eritros does manage to get topped off, but the burst damage from Plot Twist just isn't ending.
Yeah, most certainly isn't, as Eritros is on the back foot. They had a good exchange earlier on, but now they're falling behind. Lian needs to buy at least 13 more seconds, but I don't think he's going to get it. Plot Twist want to move and get to game 5 here very shortly. Huge damage still following it up. In the meantime, Empire trying to counter-aggress with that Stormkeeper looking for a Hex. Good crowd control, good counter-engage by Empire. Lightning Lasso to follow up for huge devastation, but Eritros cannot get in line of sight. He got disable rooted by Rezus and could not get follow-up. Nice gateway as Eritros tries to close this match out. There's not much left for Yes Dave. Numless denies it for now, but how much longer? Chaos Bolt gets denied. Nice Thunderstorm by Empire, punting Yes Dave out of that Earthen Wall's defense, exposing him to huge damage potentially. One interrupt on Numless could close it out, but Eritros is overextended with not much defense left to his name as well. Dampening ramps up. Mana is still quite even. Yes Dave on the back end of this exchange. Numless trying to reconnect and re-stabilize, but now they left Rezus behind. Chaos Bolt, Lightning Lasso, Wombo combo, tons of damage. Mortal Coil to follow it up. Diffuse Magic denies the Maledict, Healing Absorb. Now redirecting damage with Touch of Karma, but an overlap of defensive cooldowns now exposes Rezus moving forward.
Yeah, Rezus going to be in a lot of trouble. He does not have the fortifying elixir. He has nothing in this situation and now can no longer keep doing these exchanges. He's just sitting here taking so much pressure with a bash on the Numless. He trinkets out. Rezus looking to run away. Manages to escape. Barely throwing out the Vivifies, keeping himself alive. Empire charging in, finds the Lightning Lasso, gets interrupted by Numliz. Eritros trying to make his way there as well, but Yes Dave with good counter cross control on Eritros gets feared up. And now, unfortunately, the kill has been lost for Octogone, but that was such a close call. Rezus cannot be that greedy.
Yeah, the defense is rotating and becoming readily available for Octogone with 15 seconds away from an ending resolve, 5 seconds away from Iron Bark. Mana still even. Octogone with an advantage. Empire's Thunderstorms have been devastating throughout this fight, punting multiple players out of line of sight and then following up with Lightning Lasso. Empire is going to be the aggressive MVP. He's the one that can set up the team for a win and just simply advance on in the rest of the tournament. Yes, Dave pinned down at the pillar with Numless struggling to heal him. Even though they've got the defensive boxes positionally, they're still really having a rough time. Lian can just simply walk away, regenerate mana to full, and secure a huge advantage for his team now with both cooldowns and mana. Eritros setting up a gateway to move in. Infernals have landed. Octogone look to close. 3 seconds away, 2 seconds away, 1 second away from Touch of Karma. Rezus now has that to trade as the defensive Plot Twist rotates and available, but they get the Mortal Coil on the trinkets. Good follow-up. Can they execute for a Touch of Karma push? It doesn't appear to be the case just yet, but you really can't afford to be too greedy this deep into dampening. In the meantime, Plot Twist deflect and get a huge overlap of defense from Octogone, creating an opening for that Touch of Death on Rezus. Rezus, once again, can carry the team. He's got an opportunity. He's got 30 seconds to execute on it.
Yeah, Eritros played way too offensive there, pushing in on the box. It just allows Rezus to get off the damage he needs and then easily dip behind the pillar and line of sight a lot of that incoming damage. So Eritros repositioning, realizing now he doesn't have the comfort of that unending resolve, but that offensive play could eventually cost him the game. Touch of Death now available for Rezus. A lot of potential burst damage. Dark Soul, Yes Dave has it. Lian trinkets out, trying to keep Eritros nice and healthy during this go. Double Mortal Coil from Eritros, but now Octogone forced in a situation where they have to play so defensive. Not that much damage was even committed. In the meantime, though, Yes Dave getting bursted down. Good counter pressure from Empire, making sure to keep Yes Dave low. Lightning Lasso might be able to close out the game. Gets interrupted by Numliz. Yes Dave has to kite away, and now Plot Twist forced in a very defensive position. Rezus trying to continue the pressure onto Eritros, but without Yes Dave's backup, I just don't see him going down.
Thunderstorming, Yes Dave out of the defensive Earthen Wall totem once again. Good setup by Empire, looking to try and follow up with a Hex, securing a Wind Shear. Can Numliz get the Hex? He does actually get Hexed. Yes Dave in a lot of trouble. He's just out in midfield on the corner. Eritros tries to set up, but unable to. Mortal Coiled away. Empire tries to close with the Lightning Lasso. Is it going to be enough damage? Eritros gets spell locked, sneaks into Cataclysm. One more hit could close it. We're on match point. Spirit Link Totem available, and Numliz refuses to trade. A bit of a defiant decision here by Numbless to hold on to it, but with Ascendance and Healing Tide, it seems as though they will start to stabilize. Maybe not. Rezus, Ursul's Vortex in midfield, trades Touch of Karma to stay in the fight. Numbless now gets spell locked. Yes, Dave gets knocked away. Empire in complete control of the positioning. Lightning Lasso now. Numbless needs to get close. They need a triple Spearling Totem potentially. Not even going to go for it. Instead, the Earthen Wall. But Numbless, you can't really hold on to this for this long. Yes, Dave holding on by a thread. Numbless coming out in one more second. Can they separate them? It doesn't appear to be the case. Yes, Dave just taking a huge brunt of damage as Numbless defiantly holds on to the Spearling Totem as long as possible, potentially for a push later on in the fight, but he's exposed to so much crowd control. Numbless now spell locked. They switch some damage to him as Empire tries to carry the team on his back. Lightning Lasso, Numbless at critical health. That Gladiator Safeguard Shield keeping Numbless safe for now. Numbless moving forward. No, they're immediately going back to the pillar. They cannot afford to expose themselves to the team of Octogone. Octogone have all the driver's seat. They have all the power in this position as the Infernals are called in. One Chaos Bolt could close it out. Eritros is ramping up that supremacy. Infernals down for both sides. The next couple of Chaos Bolts could close this.
Yeah, that's the Spearling Totem, the last line of defense that Plot Twist really has available. Lian using the Iron Bark wants to keep his team aggressive at 47% dampening. Restoration, Shaman Healing is not that significant. Rezus having to kite out of line of sight once again. Empire's been doing a good job pushing in, keeping up the pressure. Stormkeeper gets used. A lot of incoming damage from Octogone. Lian just needs to hold on a little bit longer. Eritros has the unending resolve. If he can find a Chaos Bolt, not using it, getting really low. Plot Twist may have found a window of opportunity here onto Eritros as he does activate the unending resolve, looking for a Chaos Bolt, not finding it just yet. Yes, Dave, line is sighting him. If he can avoid all these Chaos Bolts, Plot Twist could be in a good spot, but yes, Dave in the Lightning Lasso. Eritros looking for a Chaos Bolt, gets interrupted once again. It gets interrupted on the Shadow Fury, but just too much damage coming in from Empire. They knock Plot Twist out of this tournament. Nicely done, and this composition that they brought in, they look so strong on it.
And look at, yeah, exactly. Look at the way that they're able to do it. I mean, you see Eritros just step to, yes, Dave, say, okay, let's do this. Let's see who has the bigger bolts, and we're going to see Octogone, a new name, make it all the way to the top 6. Let's look at this final game.
Absolutely crazy performance from Empire here. Honestly, he gets the MVP for sure. The thunderstorms that he was able to do in this game was so crucial. Time and time again, he pushes in just like that, and then he gets the pressure going. He loads up the Stormkeeper as well, has nice cleave damage here, but it's the thunderstorms, honestly, that just set them up to be in this situation in the first place, knocking Yes Dave out time and time again out in the open. He's going to be playing that Warlock, of course, not having too much mobility going, and it's every time he pushes behind that pillar that he kind of forces everybody on the side of Plot Twist to split up like this, and then here as well in the end gets a big juicy Earth Shock there onto Yes Dave at the back of that Lightning Lasso, and 51% dampening. It's not going to be anything Numbless can do about that one.
Yeah, they're going to get Earth Shocked to next week, and we'll have to see if they can actually qualify again. This is a team that we have seen quite a lot, though, so we do expect it. But once again, look, Octogone going to be moving forward in our bracket here. They make it to the top 6. Method Black going to be in the same place as